Brexit Britain to the world.
Yes, good morning. It is May the 2nd. Trouble for Theresa May again today. In fact, trouble on two fronts. First of all, she's got the local government elections today, in which she's likely to face a complete shellacking. And secondly, the sacking of her defence minister yesterday, which hasn't gone too well. There's a bit of a fallout from that, which we'll discuss on the show today. Plus, a new look Facebook. Could it ruin your marriage? And the Bank of England is going to do nothing today. Does Mark Carney have the cushiest job in the world? I think he does, doesn't he? That's all coming up today. It is May the 2nd, the day that in 1933, the Loch Ness Monster was first sighted, and it was reported in the Inverness Courier. Apparently, a local couple claimed to have seen it. The local papers covered it, and then the London papers picked up on it, and then we've not stopped hearing about it since, even though they have taken sonar readings over the whole lake and found nothing. Can we just accept now it's not real? And haggis, they are not small furry animals with one leg longer than the other, okay? Scotland is basically based on hashtag fake tourism. Like Kelpies, for example, they have supposedly these water horses that haunt the lochs. Never been seen by anyone sober. And that may be the root of the issue. Have you ever considered that we've got all these strange sightings in Scotland where they do like a whiskey? And look, I've been looking at Scottish folklore. I've spent a good 10 or 15 minutes researching for this programme. That's how much effort we put into it. Sawney Bean is another character in Scottish folklore. In the 15th century, but this is apparently true, he and his wife and kids are said to have eaten over 1,000 people. Now, I know they like their meat in Scotland, but that is taking it a bit far, isn't it? And look, we don't hear about Sawney Bean, do we, in the tourist brochures? Loch Ness Monster, haggis, all that sort of stuff. But Sawney Bean, they don't promote him. There's no blue plaque on Sawney Bean's house. No coach trips to Sawney Bean country. If there was, I wouldn't get off the bus. If I was probably safer to just stay on board the bus. Although you could think, I'm here with all these other people. I'm here with the rest of their lunch. So I don't know. Just stay out of Sawney Bean country. Don't go to Scotland, basically, is the easiest solution to all of that. Speaking of evil characters, Osama bin Laden was killed by US forces today in 2011. God, that only seems like yesterday, doesn't it? There was the raid on his compound, of course, in Pakistan, and they killed him. Payback for 9/11. The question is, what took so long? I mean, his compound was very close to a military academy in Pakistan. And so naturally, we have 1,000,001 conspiracy theories following on. Did the Pakistani military know he was there? Did the Americans actually get to him? Because we've never seen the body, have we? Did 9/11 really happen? Do I exist? Do you exist? Why am I doing this? Is my wife seeing someone else? Is my mother my real mother? Is my life a reality TV show? Where are the cameras? Does anyone listen to Balls Radio? I have so many questions that need answers to.
Balls Radio with Phil Dobbie.
Yeah, what is happening in the news today? Well, let me tell you. Gavin Williamson was the man, the defense secretary, who was leaking details of Security Council meetings to the press. Well, that's what Theresa May has reckoned anyway. She's written a damning letter to him, asking him to resign. Maybe he should go and work for George Osborne at the Evening Standard, seeming as he likes to release stuff to the press. Maybe, they are, but they are just frustrated journalists, aren't they? A lot of politicians. Let's be honest. They want to be journalists, but they want a politician's salary. So, best of both worlds. And there's a lot of politicians like this who want to push the news first. I mean, how many stories have been leaked on Donald Trump's Twitter stream, for example? Makes what Gavin Williamson's done seem, just a bit pathetic, really. Bit of insignificance. But he has done it before. This man has form. Because he used a mobile phone to take photos in Parliament, which is a bit of a no-no, apparently. No selfies allowed in Parliament. Actually, he was taking a photograph of Theresa May. Probably hoped that was going to get in the press as well. But you know what? For once, I agree with Piers Morgan. I know. Astounding, isn't it? He tweeted last night, I don't know what's more shocking, Gavin Williamson leaking national secrets or Theresa May finding the balls to sack him for it. Because normally she doesn't sack people. I mean, they just leave, don't they, normally? I mean, she's had 46 resignations, a couple of dismissals since the 2017 election. That is quite an achievement, isn't it? 46 people gone. in just a couple of years. Although don't you think this is just a bit of a storm in a teacup? I mean, he didn't exactly reveal the PIN number for launching Trident 2 missiles, did he? He just said that Huawei could be involved in the 5G network build, and they won't be involved in core infrastructure. Who cares? Not exactly a damning state secret, is it? That's going to change our lives. So he's gone. He's written a letter to us saying it wasn't him. And it's the end to a stellar career, because he has done some marvellous things. Well, I'm sure he thinks so anyway. Like, he tried to get a new law up that would allow local authorities to clamp down on car boot sales because they cause traffic congestion. That's one of his big achievements. And other things as well, but that was probably the big one. So, one less Remainer in the cabinet. Was he a Remainer? He was sort of starting to turn, wasn't he? He was trying to help Theresa May get her deal over the line anyway. So, that's one less supporter of that deal, which now leaves one, I think, really, just Theresa on her own. So he could go and work at WikiLeaks, couldn't he? I understand their boss is a little indisposed for the next 12 months. He'd be good for that job. If indeed he is guilty. There is some talk about whether he was set up or not. It's not as though a criminal investigation is being held. It's a Theresa May investigation. So we can therefore assume it's just completely useless. And, you know, all this talk that he was set up, he wrote and tweeted this letter saying he strenuously denied that the leak originated in his department or that he was involved. And he's confident that a thorough and formal inquiry, which didn't happen, would have vindicated him. So he's refusing to resign. So basically he's sacked. I think that's what happens now. But if he's guilty, shouldn't he go to prison? If it is a breach of the Official Secrets Act, shouldn't he be found out and sent to prison if he is guilty? And if not, then surely he shouldn't be sacked. End of. Or as the PM likes to say, simples. But what we've got, in fact, instead is Theresa May just saying, yeah, no, we think you did it because you haven't been very cooperative. So we think you should resign. I don't want to resign. Okay, you're sacked. On what basis? Well, because I said so, without the proof. I'm sort of with him on this. Anyway, the best headline out of all the papers today is from the Metro. Go Huawei and shut up, with a picture of Gavin Williamson. And look, we also have the local council elections in the UK today. Still don't get it with local council elections. You don't need your poll card to vote. You don't need any form of ID. You just rock up, say who you are, and they believe you. So go early and vote often is obviously the logic here. Anyway, not a lot of point where I live, to be honest with you. They should just have two boxes where I live. Will you vote for the Tories? Yes or absolutely. Although, who knows? Maybe it's going to be different this time because of the whole Brexit thing. We'll see. Meanwhile, also in the news today, there's a big redesign on the way at Facebook. A big change. It's called FB5. They're going to change how it deals with privacy. Also, the whole user interface apparently is going to change. Maybe they could, if they've got a new way of dealing with privacy, maybe they could pass on this new approach to the Security Council. They're in need of help. Look, the new look is going to be more about community. It's going to be easier to find and be involved in Facebook groups. That's going to be nice, isn't it? You'll still, of course, have the same old friends. They're not changing that. Shame, really. I'd like some new friends, and I'm sick of the ones I've got on Facebook. I want more interesting friends. Can Facebook help me with that? I want to find new people. In fact, generally, in my life, new friends. Where can I get them, please, Facebook? They're actually going to make it easier as well for you to have an extramarital affair, because they've got a new dating app. And the way this is going to work, basically, you can tag which of your friends you fancy. And if they fancy you too, if they tag you, because they don't know you've tagged them, but if they tag you, in other words, you both tag each other, then it lets you both know. If you fancy them but they don't fancy you, then they don't let the other person know, apparently, so long as they've got the algorithm right, but you know. So if you fancy your wife's best friend and she fancies you, I mean, you'd never have known, would you? Now, Facebook is going to spell it out for you. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I tell you what's going to go right. For Facebook, they are going to have their advertising filled with divorce lawyers who are suddenly going to appear in your stream. Probably just a month. I'd leave it a month for things to, really go pear-shaped after you've discovered that your wife's best friend actually fancies you and vice versa. I don't, by the way, just to make it clear, none of my wife's best friends. I don't fancy any of them. And even if I did, they wouldn't fancy me. So I'm not talking about what's going to happen to me, but it could happen to you. Divorce lawyers. That's going to lift the revenue numbers, I should think, isn't it? So things looking pretty good, I'd say, for Facebook right now.
Balls Radio.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
No, and why should we?
Balls Radio with Phil Doppie.
I didn't mean to press that. I meant to press this. That's all right, though. We get the idea. Now, look, the Bank of England finally making their decision on interest rates at midday today. They won't do anything. But look, if there wasn't Brexit, maybe they would be the one central bank that would be lifting interest rates. Because we do have sort of a bit of inflation. Everyone else is talking about reducing interest rates. Although, we are seeing inflation now starting to fall back in the UK like it is everywhere. And look, nobody knows why inflation is subdued, because it's happening around the world, all Western nations. Because normally when you get rising employment, that means more people in work, so we negotiate higher salaries. It's called the Phillips curve, but it's all broken. Someone's broken it. I think it's because we don't have unions anymore, so there's nobody actually there to push for higher wages. So we have jobs, but we have no inflation, which you could say is a good thing. But inflation actually helps to reduce debt. So if you borrowed, for example, £100,000 and inflation is high, then the value of that money is going to reduce over time. So it can be useful. But we don't have it, so don't worry about it. No change from the Bank of England. What does Mark Carney do all day? It's a pretty cushy job, I reckon. And that's it. That's Balls Radio for today, May the 2nd. Not sure if I'm going to have time to squeeze one in tomorrow, so to speak. I'll do my best. If not, I'll see you next week.
Balls Radio, the UK. From a Brexit Britain to the world.